What it is, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas. This is a rebroadcast of a show I did on Tuesday about UFOs, aliens, and channels that was issued a fraudulent copyright strike from Tom DeLong, who you'll see talked about in this video, for playing about a 3-minute segment of a promotional video from his website. It was broadcast on Lift the Veil Live. And if you're on Lift the Veil Live, because of this strike, I'm not going to be doing live shows here anymore. You need to subscribe to Lift the Veil. You have to subscribe to Lift the Veil if you want to keep catching shows. It's another channel gone for 90 days. Things were going really well. Now I have to start all over again at my old channel. So hopefully it'll go well over there too. All I did was cut out the piece of video I used. So go ahead and enjoy it. Oh, I'm also cutting out one phone call. So enjoy the video. I'll see you around.
Dude, this is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.
What it is. I need some bumpers. That's what they call those. That have like a bong, some kind of sound. Lift the veil. Oh, sorry. You can't concentrate? Those extra 12 minutes I had to take, I had to set up Doshi's thing. Right? You're a trooper going up there with those things. That's my crypto kitty. He told me to invest in EOS. Going well so far. Good job. Good job, Doshi. He does look good in that thing. I'm Nathan Stoltman. I'm your host. Sorry I was away from my desk for the last few days. I still don't sound perfect, but I feel much better. I was down and out over the weekend, but the miracle of self-healing and some things. Apple cider vinegar with Mother's, hot lemon with honey, stayed away from sugar, didn't eat that much, got better, 2 days rest. I'm telling you, you can heal. Self-alchemy. I'm going to be talking today about stuff that might be related to alchemy, actually, and more esoteric things in our lives. Something that has entered your consciousness. And so now we have to talk about it. It has entered the collective consciousness, I believe, through a slow trickle of information. Now we have a number of places that we have people talking about aliens, UFOs, and we have a growing field of channelers who channel sometimes the dead, sometimes extraterrestrial beings, which I think of more as extra-dimensional beings. We're going to take phone calls because I think people have interest in this topic. It's a controversial topic, which I'm going to mention to you during this broadcast. What makes it controversial and how others who are reporting on it get some pushback. So in that sense, in the possibility of alienating any of my audience, it is a little bit risky to do a show stating one's opinions about outer space. We're going to get there too. Have you ever thought about whether the Earth might be flat? We're going to think about that today too. Can there be aliens on a flat Earth? Wow. A lot of topics today. We're going to talk about how this information is coming forth. We had that video, and maybe I'll play it again in a little bit during the show so people who haven't tuned in can tune in and see it. That's the big deal. I'll tell you the people who are plugging it like it's a big deal, and you have to decide. We'll talk about the cast of characters around this particular release of information specifically. But then we've also talked about some characters that are in the alt media or what have you. People like Robert David Steele, for example, who are on the alien UFO disclosure side of things. We have to think, do we trust these people? Do we trust these people to bring us the real information, the real shit, as the kids say? That's what we're going to talk about today. So thank you for joining me. Make sure to stay tuned for phone calls where we'll get to hear your opinion. Oh, and since you can't stop paying attention to Doshi, big news is Doshi merchandise is in stock and already shipping. We shipped a number of new Doshi products out to what will be very happy customers. Even as far as Australia, we have sent the first Doshi merchandise. And I'll show you. And shipping to Australia is not expensive, believe it or not. Go to lifttheveil411.com. And if you go to stickers or you look at the new in here, you have two brand new, one-of-a-kind design Doshi stickers. Doshi paraphernalia. A Doshi production sticker and a Doshi face clear sticker. So I'm telling you, go to lifttheveil411.com and you'll see what you can get. Very high quality stickers. People who have received them give them lots of praise. Everything from our store is top quality, and a lot of it's signed and numbered. So check that out to support the show. Follow me on Steemit, or if you're a dinosaur, I'm just kidding, go to patreon.com/lifttheveil, paypal.me/lifttheveil. We might talk about whether dinosaurs are a hoax too. We're really going to get into it today. So stay tuned. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. Couldn't be more accurate. It is a beautiful day in California. Look at Doshi. Oh, well, he was there for the opening. Harder to get down from there. I was just going to tell you what the weather's like around here. Oh, it's not going to be that nice. It's not going to be that nice, but you'll still get mad. Oh, it's going to get cold at night. Holy crap. But you'll still get mad. It's like 60s every day. It was this last few weeks. It was like 70s every day. Christmas time. Okay, so let's get into the news. Huh? Is that what you came here for? Who is behind, who is supportive of this disclosure? We'll talk about the UFO disclosure first. Then we'll get into other stuff like channels, if you haven't heard about how they work yet. This story broke in the New York Times, which we believe is a CIA-controlled newspaper, but who does come out with interesting stories from time to time. Did break the Harvey Weinstein scandal. Not everything fits within our paradigm for what the mainstream media and government mouthpieces report and don't report. Some things seem to be disruptive for real. Some of them seem like they might be controlled disinfo. This is the story: glowing auras and black money, the Pentagon's mysterious UFO program. And they played the video I just played for you. Let's see if I'll play it again because you know it's UFO stuff and it's worth watching. Let me play it there.
Dude, that is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like look at that thing. It's rotating.
So that's the major disclosure from this, you could call it. There's another video too, which maybe I should show you. This article basically outlines how there was a Defense Department program run out of the Pentagon where they spent $22 million to fund it. I believe it started in 2007. It was run by a military intelligence official named Louis Elizondo, deep within the Pentagon. It ran from 2007 to 2012 when it was shut down. This is the official story, okay? And you decide if you trust the government to tell you the whole truth on this. And you decide if you think UFOs might be a thing, whether it's a program that's only been going on since 2007. It was shut down in 2012, but then the program continued, and I'm going to tell you about that course of events. It's already a shady way to spend money. I'll tell you about it. The program was funded by Harry Reid. And let me see, I'm sorry. It was primarily funded by Harry Reid after 2012, and I'll tell you about it. It says here that it was largely funded at the request of Harry Reid, the Nevada Democrat who was the Senate Majority Leader at the time and who has long been interested in space phenomena. Most of the money went to an aerospace research company run by a billionaire entrepreneur and longtime friend of Mr. Reid's, Robert Bigelow, who is currently working with NASA to produce expandable craft for humans to use in space. Boy, we're going to be throwing a lot of shade on these various characters, and controversially on outer space in general. We're going to revisit some old work I've done touching that subject. He basically gives this money, they call it black money. In 2012, when the thing was shut down, he met with Ted Stevens, an Alaska Republican, and Daniel Inouye, a Hawaii Democrat, and they both supported the program. Now, he says that it was dark money. I'm looking for the quote in that, which means that nobody knew about it. And this money that nobody knew about, which Harry Reid approved almost unilaterally with the approval of 2 other senators, went straight to his friend, this guy Bigelow, who's a billionaire and who's absolutely convinced about UFOs and aliens. And then I'll tell you some more of the people attached to that company, and we'll look into their history. I'm going to see if I want to get you anything more from this article. Mainly, it's the money trail that we want to talk about. And then Harry Reid does talk about talking with John Glenn, a former astronaut. And we'll tell you how we don't believe anyone went to the moon either. So we have questions about anybody who talks to NASA, works with NASA, and then the usual 3-letter agencies we're suspicious of as well, and government contractors. And we'll see who's working on this. Contracts obtained by the Times show a congressional appropriation of just under $22 million from 2008 through 2011. Money was used for management of the program, research, and assessments of the threat posed by the objects. The funding went to Mr. Bigelow's company, Bigelow Aerospace, which hired subcontractors and solicited work research for the program. So under that funding, which now I guess was when it was officially a government program, contractors for this company included this guy, Harold Putoff, an engineer who had conducted research on extrasensory perception for the CIA and later worked as a contractor for the program. He says, we're sort of in the position of what would happen if you gave Leonardo da Vinci a garage door opener. They're saying as a result of having funding for this program. Bigelow and this guy Putoff were big fans of it. And then another guy, and I'm going to show you all the names attached to this, just to let you know. We'll talk about Bigelow. We'll talk about, and I'll show you the introductory video for this project called To the Stars Academy, who is the head of that and who these people now work under, including this Mr. Elizondo, who was the one running the operation in the Pentagon. Also joined another Defense Department official, Christopher K. Mellon. And anybody with the last name Mellon, of course, is attached to banking. I went to Carnegie Mellon University. These are big banking guys. Excuse me. Not to be trusted. And then I'm going to, I guess, get into the Wikipedia page, unless I need to show you some more video from this. Here, this is the other video, okay? I'll show you this. This one doesn't have audio and isn't as compelling because of that. You basically see an object within the sensor, and the one thing that makes it really unusual is the sensor isn't able to track it sometimes because it moves so quickly and erratically. There. And you see it's just an oblong shaped craft of some sort. These are the two videos that were released. I'm going to tell you about where they were released. They're apparently official government video. Very short clips. Seems like they're part of much longer clips, which we could have seen. There you see some of the movement of the machine. There. It's the way people classically describe UFOs. And then eventually I think it just shoots off frame too fast for it to be followed. You have to decide what you think. Well, that's why we're talking about it, I guess. There, you see it just moves right off. So that's the other video that was released. Both featured in a New York Times article. And we have a mention, and in a celebratory way, really, of Harry Reid, and saying Harry Reid is really proud of the program. I mean, they were leaking this information, which seems like it's a revelation that this has been hidden from us for a long time, and making it seem like it's great that we're learning now finally about UFOs. I mean, what is the intention of this drip of information and how we've been being set up for extraterrestrial stuff, finding life on Mars, allegedly, or room for life on Mars, seeing objects that aren't asteroids apparently going around our planet. Here's another article that featured on it, 2 Navy airmen and an object that accelerated like nothing I've ever seen. A nice article of talking about this guy, David Fravor, a former Navy pilot who saw one of these UFOs over the Pacific, and his story was captured by the Pentagon program. So that's the story from the press. This guy, Robert Bigelow, and maybe I'll get to tell you a little bit about outer space. Here. Bigelow's beam module was launched to the International Space Station. On April 8th, 2016, on the 2016, on the 8th SpaceX cargo resupply mission. There are two things that are wrong with that. One of them is there is no International Space Station. People will say they see it fly overhead. Maybe. We have clearly doctored and fake video going back in time from when we first started allegedly getting video from the International Space Station. And I'll show you a little bit of that. And then SpaceX is another government scam. Although it may deliver cargo to satellites, I don't believe we can get as far out as the space station allegedly is beyond the low Earth orbit of our normal satellites and communication satellites, which I believe exist. Some people don't, believe it or not. SpaceX does not land rockets. I've been covering that for a long time. Elon Musk is a liar. This all has to do with outer space. So let me tell you more about the International Space Station since we're on it. And then I'll go back to who this guy is that runs To the Stars Academy, which is the outlet that posted these videos of allegedly government released videos. I'm not sure why they're released on this website. I couldn't find a lot of my video on the International Space Station hoax, but this is one with a green screen, which is pretty easy to digest. And this is only a 3-minute video. Here, let me
this is
start.
Houston ACR. That concludes the KCRG
I can
TV
show
portion of
you.
the event. Please stand by for a voice check from KT.
I can show you myself in real time rather than showing
What it
myself
is.
narrate it. Here,
Our
watch.
favorite NASA video.
There.
It is a real honor to be able to touch base with the International
Let me see
Space
if I
Station,
do a
and that's
good
what we're doing right
explanation
now,
for
visiting
it.
with Commander
You see anything funny there?
Commander on the International Space Station.
There was a little
Commander,
wipe
thanks so much for some of your time.
that you might have seen as they switched characters. Nothing unusual about that necessarily. They changed interviews. They just had a time switch, let's say, between that character and this character, who appears to be on a harness
To be able to touch base
for
with the
sure,
International-
but we're not going to worry about that. We're not worrying about the harness. We're just worried about the wipe. I'm going to show it to you again. I believe they're on a green screen. In fact, it will be hard to dispute that that is a green screen in the background where the flags are waving. The flags are going to be our main clue here to what's going on and what I'm pointing out. Watch the wipe. Okay, so changing times. Yes, one time to a new time is what we're looking at because people don't appear in a wipe in reality, in the normal 3D world as we decode it. So watch, this is in reverse and forward. Watch the background. You see those flags? See how they stay in the same pattern? I'm going to go frame by frame here, okay? You see the wipe going from left to right. It's hitting the blue and yellow flag. I believe that's Sweden right now. And we're going through to the right. And you'll see the actor appear, the actor not. And you'll see the flags stay in a consistent motion. You would see a difference, actually.
So anyway, I used to make a lot of videos about that. I did a really groundbreaking series about the lunar roving vehicle, aka the moon buggy. I don't know if I might have extra trolls today. Whenever you talk about outer space, trolls decide to show up. So good luck in my chat. So anyway, I don't think the International Space Station is real. At least it's sort of like the moon landings. Everything we've seen is fake. Now, whether or not there are really people up there and they don't actually send down video, maybe. Maybe there's a real space station up there that could really broadcast real video of what it looks like over the Earth. But right now there isn't. At least there's no camera or anything up there. And one thing is when they do these interviews, they have instantaneous communications, you know, radio signals. When you're talking on a satellite phone, it takes a while. Or when you're talking long distance to somebody, it can take a while, the delay. These guys are basically instantaneous. That's just one side note. The other thing is they do stuff on green screen. They do stuff with harnesses. They do stuff that you don't even want to think about because of how much money they're spending making Hollywood productions. I have a little video of Elon Musk's best of landings just because we're talking about outer space. And a lot of people will say outer space isn't even really a thing. And so how could we have aliens from outer space? This is a camp I was in for a while. And we'll talk more about it. Here we go.
Now that drone ship you see on the right-hand side of your screen, that is live footage. And like we said, it's out in the Atlantic Ocean. So we're going to try and maintain that steady feed as the rocket descends, which is just in a couple of seconds here.
Now this video hasn't historically been the most reliable. We hope to bring you this high quality video as possible, but there's no Wi-Fi out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Now, so as you know, sometimes we lose that video in the drone ship. There's a lot of vibrations happening there. We're going to try our best to keep that link, and hopefully once that landing burn hits, we'll catch it, we'll see it visually.
We do have cameras on the deck of course, I Still Love You, but they're on a satellite link. So again, those vibrations from that first stage coming down may jostle the satellite link, so we can't get all the video all the way down. Just be prepared for it. We are relying on a satellite link that is susceptible to the vibrations of the landing burn itself.
That's true. So when the rocket descends onto the drone ship, it starts to shake, and the satellite that's pointing up to communicate, or the satellite dish that's pointing up, we're just getting word that the landing burn's beginning. Focus your attention, and we'll see if we can see it.
Looks like we could see the exhaust gases just in the top of the frame.
It's as though things have frozen, which, like we said, this speed, there's no Wi-Fi out in the Atlantic Ocean yet.
You can actually see the deck of the drone ship right now.
Wow.
Amazing. That was just a brief montage. They never they always crap out the landing. Every single time they crap out the damn landing for these things. And somebody has to get a little suspicious. Here's another one, actually. I just have to show you.
Still Love You, our drone ship out in the Atlantic Ocean.
That only gave a few examples. Same special effect.
I don't have my sound effect.
We do have confirmation while we're waiting for an image from the drone ship that we did have our second stage engine cutoff.
That's me laughing and staring. And then they just show it reappear.
But if you've tuned into past and webcasts, you've noticed that we have lost feeds in the past of our stage one. Right now, we don't exactly know the state of stage one.
That's what they don't tell you.
But
they always
as
give
of
the
this
same
moment,
excuse.
It does look like we are in a good parking orbit for stage two.
This is recovery. Stage one has landed.
And we have confirmation from recovery operators that stage one has landed. Stage one has landed. We don't have any images and footage to share with you. Oh, there's an image right now.
Yeah. There you go. Rocket
pretty convincing.
Huh? Okay. So we made a brief foray into flat Earth, basically. Doesn't mean the Earth is flat because we didn't go to the moon and we don't have a space station. Just means we don't, and people should probably realize that NASA is wasting our money. This is the website to the Stars Academy of Arts and Science that all these people are working for. Well, they work for this guy, Blink 182 guitar player, Tom DeLonge, who is really into UFOs and was reportedly he was in the Podesta emails. He had emailed John Podesta about UFOs because he's a big disclosure guy. Speaking of John Podesta, I didn't even tell you. John Podesta tweeted after this information came out. And guess what he tweeted? Lift the veil. That's all it takes to get mentioned on this show. Thanks, Senator Reid. The truth is out there. To the stars. Hashtag. John Podesta is behind this too. It's an interesting cast of characters. Not even being questioned in the mainstream media, just being hailed. This is the website it appeared on, along with articles about it. Authenticated UAP video. I think that means unidentified aerial phenomenon. Unidentified aerial phenomenon. They have a whole article about it, and they describe what all the different readings mean. They have all the radio transmissions. They were given the government authorization to send it out. This guy, Tom DeLong, I heard on another channel that talks about this stuff a lot, and I'm trying to get the names of all the different channels that talk about UFOs now. Secure Team. Secure Team said they had questions about this guy. I guess what this guy did, and a reminder, now all these people work for him and his organization, which is this website, which he originally raised money for. He crowdfunded, and he had raised over $2 million with 2,000 investors. It was, let me see when this article is from. December 17th, 2017. So he back in October only, DeLong launched an appeal for funding his new public benefit corporation, which he described as, quote, the first partnership of its kind between the fields of aerospace engineering, science, and cinematic entertainment. Sorry, I had to cough. Which will, quote, explore the outer edges of conventional thinking, unquote. As of writing, it had raised over $2 million, which I said. Anytime anybody raises money to do something, which is kind of nebulous, for example, a partnership, first partnership of its kind between the fields of aerospace engineering, science, and cinematic entertainment, which explores the outer edges of conventional thinking. Anytime somebody raises a bunch of money for that, and then let's say they don't achieve results, then people start to have questions. It's why when I watched the video from Secure Team, that he said he had questions about this guy DeLong, besides his connection to John Podesta. Let me play you his video, basically promoting this To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences. This is the last character we'll talk about in this UFO release.
Have you ever had the desire to look outward, to the edge of what is known and unknown? We have the chance to do something revolutionary, something that I think has never been attempted before. What if I told you I found a group of like-minded people who held senior positions in the U.S. government, from the CIA to the Department of Defense?
I have to go over these names. It interrupts the flow, I know. But you got to see who he's got working for him. This guy, Senior Intelligence Service, CIA, Directorate of Operations. This guy, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. Now, I don't know when we started trusting our intelligence services. Here, this guy, Director of DOD, CIA, and DIA funded research programs. DIA, I believe, is Defense Intelligence Agency. This guy worked for Lockheed Martin, which is the biggest criminal organization around from what I find in my research. And I mean, and the name goes on. This guy, former director of programs to investigate unidentified aerial threats, Office of the Secretary of Defense. This is a guy that actually worked on the original project inside the Pentagon. So anyway, while you're looking at his team, think about it, and I'll play a little bit more. All right, I got over it. I was playing it because the dramatic music, dramatic music does help. To think, I mean, really, here's the thing. To think that this is a disclosure and the government, it's stuff that they're saying it's stuff the government really never looked into, weren't interested in it, which is insane. The government has been studying extrasensory phenomena and using psychics and using remote viewers for a long time. They know it's not bullshit. Sorry. But I don't know. So here's what I'm saying. I'll tell you about aliens. I told you about the flat earth. I'm not saying the earth's flat. It's impossible. Most likely, mostly torus shaped, but maybe, well, it looks flat. It looks flat. It acts flat. For all intents and purposes, may as well be. But there's this torus-shaped field, electromagnetic field that stuff kind of spins around on. Makes it seem really round too, and can account for things like lunar eclipses. But it's a lot to get your head around. Aliens. We're seeing it presented from a lot of places. There are a number of popular YouTube channels that talk about aliens. Some of them talk about a secret space war. I'll tell you, I guess, where I come down on it, based on, we're going to shift into talking about channels and how channels have come up. And this is the most sensitive hot topic item of all. Aliens are demons. Aliens are demons. Aliens are demons. Anybody channeling anything is channeling a demon. Even if it's your dead mother, it's a demon for sure. I think that's it's a part of the dogma, I guess, of Christianity. And I've tried to resolve that issue with myself being a Christian, in the sense that I want to be like Christ. I read the word of Christ. I believe in the word, but I've also studied a lot of esoteric religions and philosophies. And I believe there's a lot to be learned from all over the place. And Jesus would have been totally okay with that. He was okay with learning, and he was okay with teaching. But we're going to get into channels and how those have come into the consciousness as well. And how there's a lot of controversy around channels. I'm going to talk about one of them. Before I do that, we have popular places, like I mentioned, Secure Team, Dabu in some senses covers aliens. A lot of times people talk about them like they're from outer space, like they come from way out in the galaxy. And maybe in some sense they do, but we've never been to outer space. So there's really no knowing, in my opinion. I should say it this way. It's the same as nuclear bombs. They might exist, but we have no evidence. All of the evidence we have is faked. So it's not necessarily saying that outer space isn't real or it's not what we think it is. It's only that we've never been there. So for us to make claims about it could be a little far-fetched. Whatever we believe about these aliens, and it's hard to dismiss the fact that people have seen UFOs, and UFOs are not human, and we don't think they're demons, I don't think, and people have seen them, and people who watch this show have seen them, and people are afraid to talk about it, and people have had experiences onboarding ships, and yes, this can all happen in our minds, but our minds are reality at the same time. So it indicates some kind of ability to change reality extra dimensionally and come in and appear in our realm, basically our flat realm. So that I don't know. Okay, I've read a lot of stuff about aliens, or I've been introduced to the topic because of my thoughts about outer space. I've dismissed aliens because of all the disinfo shills that push aliens. I was quick to dismiss aliens, But then I started looking into something called the Law of One, the raw materials, which involves, it's from, I believe, the late 70s, with a channel, who's a person who allegedly makes contact with beings on what we would call the other side of the veil, not within our 3D realm, not something the rest of us can perceive. And this was a channel who proceeded to channel this entity called Ra over multiple sessions and days. And you have to read this. I'm telling you, you have to if you're interested. Even if you think aliens are demons, you have to read it and reckon with it, because you're going to get the same story from a lot of channels that's in there. It's the law of one, the law of love, how everything is made to, everything is one basically, and that the whole universe works together. And we have to conquer fear. I'm going to play, actually, that's one thing you're going to get that you may not have seen. I'm going to play part of a channeling of a reptilian being. And you have to decide. You have to decide. And you have to decide whether it's a demon. A lot of people think reptilians are. This is really deep stuff. So I'm anxious to get your phone calls about it. So let me talk about channels then. This law of one thing, they introduce a subject about wanderers. And I've said on my channel before that I believe after reading that I would be classified as a sixth density wanderer, of which there are millions of us, apparently. That's what Ross says through this channel. You should read about it. I have some text picked out. Maybe I'll read it to you for those of you who might be interested, maybe before phone calls, because it should speak to the kind of people that listen to my show who are trying to change the world or feel like they were born somehow to change the world and just don't know how. Well, we'll maybe discuss wanderers. Now, we have channels, mediums, not only contacting the dead, but contacting extraterrestrial beings and channeling what they say. Just like in the Law of One. And you have to read it. You really do. You have to read it and you just have to decide, is this all a fantasy in somebody's mind? You have to read the way the words come out and the way it all, it all adds up in a weird way. Like it makes sense. And it doesn't make sense that a human would say it. And talks in depth about things like the Great Pyramids. Information nobody would ever know. Very, very interesting. I'm telling you. Cast aside your thoughts simply for the reason of doing your research properly. You have to, in this new world, which we talk about, we're new age here. We believe in the spiritual shift. It's just like your quest for knowledge. You have to set aside all dogma to try to learn the truth. The more you are fixed in any particular view, the less you are able to accept new information and accept what is right now a changing reality. Things that were true yesterday aren't necessarily true now, which is actually tomorrow. We are in the future already. Time is not real, by the way. I had to mention that to you as well. We've already won the fight. We've already crossed over because time isn't real. Was that off track? So mediums and channels. I actually used two mediums/channels on YouTube who both claim to have spoken with Stephen Paddock after the Las Vegas shootings. The ghost of Stephen Paddock, you could say. And because I get my information everywhere, I'm not limited to where I get information. And certainly information directly from Stephen Paddock would be really useful. And those ladies, Pamela Erlin and this other channel I'm going to play named Diet, gave information that ended up being really on target. And Pamela Erlin was the first one who gave me the idea that it was some kind of Islamic fundamentalist group behind this, which I never would have considered. I thought it was a hoax at the time. And she was saying that people really died and basically that it might be ISIS behind it. And lo and behold, that's what ended up kind of being true, is that it was the Saudis and their Wahhabist, terrorist kind of group, and attack on Trump and so on and so forth. Then after all that, we find out about the helicopters over the Mandalay Bay and everything else. Very, very interesting information. I played it. It was kind of while I was on Twitch, but I played what this person, Diet, said. Very interesting person. I should show you a picture of her so you can see who she is. It's good to get a visual. This clip I'm going to play is kind of like clips you'll hear from other channels apparently channeling extraterrestrials. They say they want to help. All of them now, even reptilian. You think I'm crazy? I think you're crazy. They seem like they want to help with the transition. What they claim is a transition. It's new age. People who have been talking about it since the 1960s, the dawn of the age of Aquarius. New age bullshit, as some people might say. Other people who talk about this are Carrie Cassidy and Project Camelot, and people have opinions about all this stuff. Other people who talk about it are Jordan Sather, who we've already kind of roundly criticized for his coverage of the Q phenomenon, and appearing on InfoWars and Gaia and all that stuff. But we still don't know. We're not saying it's disinfo, but we're saying this very up and coming, very popular YouTuber is also pushing the alien agenda. Well, one thing he did, let me see it here. I'll show you Diet, and I can't show you her without. Here she is. Here. That's Diet. She's a nice, she seems like a nice lady. Let's see if
from his perspective.
She's not showing her face in this one either. Well, she has done such things as, she has done, let me get on her channel. She has done a lot of things that people who don't believe in this stuff will say there's good reason not to believe. We have her channeling George Washington, talking about the Illuminati, Freemasonry, the military and his wife. She's channeling Alia, Nefertiti, Stephen Paddock, which I mentioned, Mark Twain, Tesla. Very interesting stuff if you're open-minded. I have to tell you, it can kind of give you some insight. The George Washington one was pretty interesting to me. I'm going to play, and I want to get her on my show, to be honest. Maybe get her to do a live reading, and then you guys can to see whether she's for real or not. And I can stay open-minded about her not being. She's given me some good information so far. It hasn't been proven wrong. I'm going to give you the message she delivers. And the thing about these reptilians that people are talking about that want to control and dominate our universe, and which we could say are responsible or some way responsible for controlling the elite, which David Icke has been talking about for decades now. Reptilians, well, maybe finally through these channels and what people are learning, maybe finally there's some evidence to support what was the craziest thing he said, was talking about these reptilian beings. And these people like Diet are talking about channeling reptilians, and you can hear the kind of well, this will describe the kind of energy they have, which is to feed off of us. And I've proposed this before, because people want to know the reasons for all kinds of stuff like false flags or hoaxes, or why do they go pretend to shoot up a church? Why do they pretend to drive cars into people? And you can always say that it's to create fear. And one of the things actually Diet said in her channeling of Stephen Paddock said that the guy that recruited Stephen Paddock said that he is involved in projects to create chaos and create fear among groups of people, and that in and of itself was a thing that he was paid to do, and that Stephen Paddock could get involved with that program as if it was a government research program. So, reptilians controlling the world, elite reptilians, aliens that are reptilian, good aliens, bad aliens, not demons, dead people. This is really a packed show. We look forward to phone calls. Okay, let me play this where she channels, she allegedly is channeling a reptilian extraterrestrial being who talks a little bit about how he feels about us and our planet, okay? It's a positive message, believe it or not, similar to what you would find in the Law of One. There is some consistency across these alien channels for what these aliens allegedly say. Then I'll tell you what Jordan Sather said that got him in trouble, and then we'll take phone calls, okay? Thanks for staying tuned so far.
I want to say, the more you feed your fear, the more our species eats. Do not feed fear. This is a part of the shift. You feed the fear, we continue to eat. You don't feed the fear, we have no food. We must go elsewhere. This is where you understand your power. Your power is not succumbing to fear. No, no one has power over you. Yes, they can take your life, but your soul will never be taken power over. Your soul is infinite. It has been created to cycle and grow and grow. It will never die. Yes, your body will die. Your body can be taken by others. But your soul, which is more important than a body, will never die. Understand this. Your body is temporary. Your soul is forever. Do not hang on to fear. Let go of your pain because that weakens you. And we love weakness. Yes, we also hate when you feel powerful and you know you're powerful, and we try to challenge that. We love to challenge that. But we know we can't take that power inside of you.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Very, it's interesting because you can decide she's crazy pretty easily. And that one is more interesting because she takes on a persona of the being that she apparently is channeling. I'm going to tell you, you have to really listen to it. You have to really listen to it if you want to get into it. There's some interesting stuff that gets said. And the way the channels go is just very strange. Hard to imagine somebody making it up on the spot is the only thing. Sometimes though, I'm going to tell you, sometimes I look at these people, I just call out bullshit big time. People who say they're channeling the council or whatever. Why would these beings want to talk to somebody on YouTube who says they channel people? Why would George Washington or Tesla want to talk to this person? Well, we can think about it. Stephen Paddock, for example, they're channels, allegedly, and their job then is to get out the message of these beings that want to contact them. So you would look for somebody who would reach other beings on that plane, let's say. And for example, with the Law of One, they found people who were willing to write and distribute a book. They chose wisely in that case, the entity known as Ra. I might really, like I said, alienate some listeners today, but I'm just telling you guys the way I see it. I've done a lot of research on a lot of different things, and you guys know my views on stuff. I try not to be too secretive about it, even extremely controversial views. For example, and I'm about to take phone calls. Jordan Sather just came out with a video, and I left him a friendly comment because I thought he had balls to do it. He said it's called Aliens or Demons, Another Psyop to Distract Us. And he just got absolutely demolished. Almost 550 thumbs down, 1,400 thumbs up. There's my comment on there, which has a few replies. I don't know what they say. But tons of comments saying stuff like this. Aliens are absolutely demons. I don't know if he I don't know if he got rid of yeah, here's somebody who says this dude will bash Christians but say he believes in fairies who make him warm and fuzzy. He really did get hit hard. He really did get hit hard by the comments. So I thought it was brave of him to take that stand, especially when I consider some of my biggest fans will probably say they're praying for me now. And it's great. It's just I don't necessarily think it doesn't synthesize with the teachings of Jesus Christ. And we have to, collective consciousness has changed. Things are changing. We have to be able to reevaluate all things. That's where I'm at on it. Very, very controversial thing to talk about. I'll show you my phone number. We'll take calls. 650-429-8294. I might lose Christian friends over this. It seems like such a hot topic. I'm saying consider it. I'm not saying what's true. And I played something that sounds crazy, but I like the message. Said that we have to step into our power. It's the same thing you'll hear from somebody like Max Egan. I mean, it's the same message you get from people telling the truth all over the place that are really telling the truth. You have to step into your power, get rid of fear. I've been talking about that forever when I thought aliens were a psyop. No, I don't know. I just, there's information out there. I get the information. I tell you about it. Phone's open, 650-GAY-TAXI. Gay taxi to the stars today. Thanks for bearing with me, even though I had to cough a few times. It was really hard to smoke my e-cigarette. I'm really proud of myself. I got over it in a few days. My dad's been sick for weeks. We have to get him healed up. 650. Oh, let me make sure. I don't know if I probably, yeah, okay. You can't call because there's something. What do I have to do? I think if I open this. Oh, I think I know what I have to do. I have to fake call somebody. You're trying to get through and you're not getting through. I know. Let me call this guy to open up my thing. Come on, fucker. Oh, it does. What's that about? I'm going to get it open. Hold on, people. There we go. I want to know what you think about it. That's what I want to know. I'll call this person first. And then calls will be able to come through too. You never know who it might be on the other line. You can follow me on Steemit.
Hello?
Hey, it's Nathan calling from Lift the Veil.
Hey, Nathan, it's Pudio. How's it going, man?
Oh, hey, Pudio. Dino S.
Yeah.
Dino Sex.
Great show today.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I think it was pretty interesting because I kind of have the same view as you, that most of this stuff is fake. But then, one thing that I always forget, and I guess I should first talk about how I arrived at that conclusion. It's because most of the info we get comes from known disinfo people.
Mm-hmm.
So that, of course, makes all the information sketchy. Plus, like, when you do get the legit when I say, I guess, air quotes for legit information, it's always the grainy footage. It's never anything conclusive. And we currently live in a society that's just absolutely full of cameras and all kinds of surveillance happening everywhere, especially in the skies. And you would think that if the phenomenon, or I would think that if the phenomenon is happening, then it should be a lot more verifiable. You know, if people wanted to verify that these things do exist, it seems like it would be a pretty easy thing to do, at least by compiling enough convincing evidence that, you know, people could arrive at that conclusion. Scam artists and the disinfo people. And that, of course, makes all the information, you know, for a lot of people, I think we just kind of dismiss it all.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was thinking about, because I was in the chat and some people were talking about their own experiences, is that these things are older than the mainstream disinfo media, like as we know it. You know, going back to Columbus's logs, you know, there's some lights that he was following in there. And then, you know, in World War II, you had the Foo Fighters and that kind of stuff. A lot of people swear by their stories and their, you know, and their observations. So I'm kind of wondering, you know, when we know, you know, for me, when I look at where information comes from, I kind of think of it as like a narrative. But then it's kind of interesting to think about, well, what is this that we're seeing, and what is it? What are the things that people are experiencing? I'm sure that, you know, just like everything else, the key is just not to paint it with too broad of a brush, because every singular experience is, you know, could be its own phenomenon.
Right. Well, it's one thing that made it difficult for me, you know, with my views about outer space and the idea that I don't think there is life out there the way we think about it. The only life I think is within our realm. But there are there are different planes of being which are associated with our realm and stuff. And it does get to a point where you hear testimony from people who are very credible, you know, pilots and people, you know, people on Navy ships. One person who was into UFO, well, believed for sure in UFOs, but didn't, but thought ufologists were full of crap, was the most famous truther ever. Oh man, the guy that made fun of Alex Jones, who ended up getting killed.
Oh, Bill Cooper.
Bill Cooper.
Yeah, but Bill Cooper, I think that Bill Cooper, he didn't mean to be, but I think he was disinfo on that.
You think?
Well, his whole purpose for believing in UFOs was that allegedly he found classified documents when he was in the Navy.
No, that's not it. That's not it, Pudio. He saw it with his own eyes.
Oh, I thought that, man, I could have sworn that I heard a couple of shows where he was talking about the documents he saw when he was in the Navy.
He might have seen something, but no, the story I remember him telling is seeing a craft dive into the ocean, come out again, dive in, go out again, and seeing it with a number of people who were on deck and stuff. And you know, there are stories about that.
Find that show.
Yeah, well, he's got so much content. It's kind of crazy, yeah. But that was the thing, is he was pretty into it. And I just think, you know, I've seen cell phone video from people of, you know, what are unidentified weird looking objects in the sky. I mean, there is this documentation out there of some of this stuff, and it just doesn't really circulate broadly. And then a lot of it, I guess, isn't able to be captured on video or what have you. And then people are having experiences out at the Asidi Ranch, which I was thinking about visiting just to see what it was all about, where people have UFO sightings all the time, big triangular craft and different kinds of craft. And then he talks about Bigfoot and other things like that. I mean, because perception is reality, and so many people seem to come forward with similar experiences, it becomes kind of hard to discount, you know?
Yeah, that human element definitely. I mean, what we perceive is real and what we write is real in our mind definitely becomes real to us.
Yeah,
so that's for sure.
Yeah. And maybe it's just their way of, maybe they're just able to shift reality in the sense that whoever's perceiving it perceives it as absolutely real. So in that sense, it is absolutely real. But then you see stuff like this footage of it's legit that shows it on cameras with real sophisticated sensors and stuff. And you got to wonder what's going on with all that. And sure, I don't know. A lot of this stuff, though, if you read the Law of One, the raw material, it gets into how craft could appear and how they might break through into our vibration from theirs, in order to appear and then basically disappear again. But where are you? Are you flat Earth?
No, I'm a globist.
Oh, you are?
Kind of. Yeah, I mean, because of my time in the Navy, I got to watch ships and islands and lighthouses appear over the horizon a lot. And I agree with you that pretty much from any altitude I've ever been at, that it certainly does look flat. But with the watching the way that things go over the horizon, they always disappear from the bottom first. That's for me the surest way to observe the curve. And of course, like being on a ship or maybe in a port, like at a sea town, if you watch things going away, you'll notice, like especially with like binoculars, so you can keep a good eye on it. You'll notice that they always disappear from the bottom first, and I think that's the best. That's the best way to show that that's the case. But go ahead.
Well, I'm going to show you that's the biggest one people use. And I'm going to show you how I think. For one thing, I think things above the horizon line, because things I'm going to show some video of a ship that disappears over the horizon and reappears when you just have a zoom lens. So I do believe that it's possible on what we visualize as a flat Earth, that things appear to disappear from the ground up and stuff, but it's actually just not an illusion exactly, but it's just a question of how far we can actually see. So I'm going to show some video on that. You can look where ships reappear. It's not that they disappeared over the horizon. They'll reappear if you just get a zoom lens. And I think people like periscope operators will be able to tell you too that it certainly seems flat, from where they are able to look at just over the water line, very far away at sea. So, but it's interesting.
One thing that can also make the ship reappear, or at least a part of the ship reappear, would be changing your height of eye.
Of course.
By going to a higher elevation, that could change that. But I spent 2 years like on a ship where my primary job was just to look out of the horizon at the other ships, and I've never seen anything like appear and disappear. I mean, as far as you can sometimes things will pieces of objects will be hidden by the horizon, but not ever the full thing, the full object, especially you could still track a Group 3 container by the big old stacks, whereas you wouldn't be able to see any of the containers or the bow or the stern. You could still see the smokestacks off the back of the ship, and that's kind of that's been my experience of it. Now things will appear and disappear off a radar
with zoom. What I'm saying is with the zoom, if you had a telescope all of a sudden, if you went from seeing it with your eyes, and I'll just show a video on it. I don't want to belabor flat Earth point too much. But if you pulled out binoculars or something, it's clear, the bottom would reappear is what I'm suggesting. I'm just going to play a video for people who are interested in it. But I don't want to belabor the point.
Okay, well, I was using, just to kind of go with you there, I was using 27 power binoculars, pretty much. They were on both bridge wings. It was kind of a standard thing.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, I'll let you handle some other calls, but you're having a great show, man.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Pudio. Good hearing from you.
Hey, right on. Later.
Peace. All right, I'll show you this video. Let's see. I believe he's going to zoom out. And you see there, they're gone. Doesn't give it, it's not the best one. Here, I can maybe show you another one. There's a whole 10-minute video on it here.
Welcome to the empty horizon. Keep in mind that this is an empty horizon. There are no visible boats.
We're still talking about flat Earth, sorry.
As we zoom in, we see two boats appear along what I call the wavefront edge, which is the blue line of last discernible water. We also can see, as we zoom in further, something I call the mirror line.
And you can see that boat on the right.
It is a reflection that forms under the boats after they pass the wavefront edge.
Was under the water line.
Two major structural landmarks for this large...
Anyway, you'd have to look into it yourself. I was saying the Earth can't be flat. It is kind of, though, when you look into it. We didn't go to the moon. No International Space Station. Sorry. People are going to call me a shill again. Big time. Man, am I sick of that. Right, Doshi? Nobody ever calls you a shill. You can get Doshi stickers. lifttheveil411.com. It's like you can support the show for not much money. Or you can follow me on Steemit. I don't have that address. But lifttheveil411.com, Doshi stickers. For real. I'm running a real merchandising ring. Not making any money, but bringing you great products. It's the main thing. Cryptocurrency is good. Steemit is good. Steemit is the future. Cryptocurrency is the future. But, I have this to say. I've been promoting that too. Man, I'm like shill number one. Bitcoin, aliens, flat Earth. How many more things can I go wrong with today? This is Nathan.
Hey, Big Nathan.
Hey,
it's Frank Bacon.
Hey, hey, Frank, what's going on, man? I was just talking about Steemit.
Did I just cut in on your show?
You caught me during my show. I hope you meant to.
I did, kind of. I mean, I did. You were just doing the thing on flat Earth, were you not? You were showing the those zoom ins and zoom outs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow, that was great. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm glad you're getting into Steemit because that's what I was interrupting to talk about. Of course.
Yep. I'm happy to hear it.
I'm a shill for Steemit.
Me too, man. I'm the biggest shill for Steemit right now.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. I had noticed. I'm really impressed. I'm very glad that you're seeing the how the warfare is fought. You know, we're never going to agree if we went to the moon. We can't even agree if the world is flat or round or whatever. You know, everything is a psyop. So why don't we just start using the blockchain and monetizing it so we can all get out of our parents' basement? And that's not a hack on you. I'm actually not one of those people. That's why I've always enjoyed your show, because I've always embraced that honesty that, you know, we're kind of thrown to the wind in this spiritual awakening that's going on. Call it a spiritual consciousness awakening that's going on. And I see this new age popping into place. And, you know, I've got a bit of a notoriety out there for being a bit of a troublemaker, but it wasn't by any real grand design of my own. I didn't go out to intensively, troll people. I call it catfishing. And that is to do kind of what you're doing, just in a more artistic way and a much more guerrilla way of, you know, getting an audience, entertaining my audience, working with my audience. And I just went, you know, straight up to Steemit. I'm getting a new post up, in fact, as we speak. That'll be me from August of 2016 talking about Steemit. So I have a good 1 year, you know, projection from a year ago talking about what I saw things like Steemit in the blockchain revolution were going to be able to allow us to do, and that is to turn us all into our own kind of channels, if you will. And I really enjoy yours now, so thanks for letting me cut in and speak openly about that.
No, hey, thanks, man. Well, I'm a proponent for it because I want my fellow, you know, it's really about empowering each other, because, you know, you follow me, you help me out. It's nobody's, I don't even have to ask for donations over there, you know, because people are supporting me simply by watching and upvoting my content. And it's like money appearing out of thin air. And then you invested in other cryptocurrencies, and all of us losers living in our parents' basement, like you said, are going to take over the world, because we're stacking cryptocurrency right now using stuff like Steemit, and things are really changing. I mean, as far as the awakening goes, I've been thinking about that. And I've been thinking about whether cryptocurrency is a higher vibrational form of money, because I don't want to get.
Discuss that.
Yeah,
I'd love to discuss that more and more with you, because that's exactly what that post is going to be. It's me talking last year from the standpoint of it being, this is the higher vibrational tool that we were meant to embrace. In fact, there are a lot of elements that are helping us out that are literally giddy and laughing about it. That people like I don't know if you saw Austin Fitz is now placating to that story that Bitcoin is the psyop of the next new op, and that there's a guy that was just, I got to tell you about it. It's freedom.social, and it's a private social network, and he was on Sarah Westall's program recently. His name is Kent Lewis, and a really good one to go back and look at. And these two FUD peddlers, both Austin Fitz and now Kent Lewis, not even on the same, page normally, but
let me interrupt for people for the term you just used. FUD peddlers, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. This is something used by crypto enthusiasts now for stories put out in the news. For example, Jamie Dimon saying that Bitcoin is a fraud. That's fear, uncertainty, and doubt meant to drive down the price of Bitcoin and make people not interested in it. So go
And it
ahead.
has the opposite effect. It has the opposite effect, because then it gets smart people like us that actually have the time on our hands. For one reason or another, we have the time on our hands to use this type 1 communication system where you're at least attached to information. It doesn't necessarily mean all the information is correct. Now, I've been doing this artistically as a science fiction writer. I do write in fiction. I hope people understand and get confused by my stuff and don't take me seriously. But when I'm speaking to people, when I'm my disembodied voice or I'm having a private communication with people, I can clearly show that the things that I write about are elements in our own science fiction. Like you say, we're living, it's always in the now, and the FUD is designed to scare the future out of you and also embed the old stories of the history, the trauma-based mind control, so that you don't change your ways. So the FUD peddlers are basically speaking in the first person about money. Sonic tool, pure and simple. If you got money completely out of your life like you got sugar and processed flour out of your life, you'd see a massive change in wealth and attraction and abundance. Massive. And there are a ton of people that would agree with me. Now, for those that don't, fuck them. I'm tired of talking to those idiots. That's the kind of gameplay I like to do. And now, I'm not a violent person. I'm not an aggressive person, but I'm a pacifist aggressor. I keep these idiot, archonic notions of, dominance that have been in our culture for a long time. I keep them out of my conversations anymore. Right. I really do. And that's why I can come to a table and be like, I always thought I lived on a globe, but I do actually appreciate the conversation about, are we, because I know NASA is rigged 12 different ways from Sunday. There's just so much lying going on. And so it is up to us to start really questioning peer-to-peer with our cohorts, with our, with our fellow man, rather than believing in, narrations given to us by cults of personality. So it's really important that we get our audiences. It's not about fellowship. And what Full-Time Geek did for me recently by being a sponsor for me as a steward of Gondor, he raised my the level on Steemit for me, and I really appreciate that. And in order to use that, in order to mine that cryptocurrency, I have to give it to other people. So it's completely reversing the story of, okay, let's bring this money into existence with debt and then make all these idiots pass it around with IOUs.
Right, exactly. It's totally different.
So I don't even want to get into the conversation with those people, because what they're describing how everything is centralized now, how everything is tooled now. The only way out of that is to get into these open source systems where you can read the code, you can get into the debates, you can get into the discussions, see for yourself. And the best place to do that is Steemit. And all you're doing is saying, let's interact on Steemit. Don't follow me on Twitter. Don't follow me on Facebook. Don't play with me in those kingdoms, because they're weaponized mind control la-la lands for people. They blast so many of people don't even understand the level of warfare in the advertising. It's not just in a bad story being written or lies being told or fake news. It's also in the ads they're propagating on the page that you're trying to read that information in.
Right. Well,
think
about it this way. Every platform that we're on, besides Steemit and then the affiliates of Steemit, now they even have a podcast platform, but every platform we're on is designed to take from us. They're not designed to give to us. They're designed to take from us. And if we earn for them, we're earning for them, at least to some large extent. where Steemit is the opposite. Steemit rewards us and wants our content and rewards us for doing that, and almost us exclusively, really. And the community building aspect is one thing that's really important about it, because you learn you have to follow people. Stuff doesn't automatically rise to the top that you're interested in. You know, the algorithm, it needs some work in order to do that. But I mean, in terms of building a community, there's something about it, and I'm gonna stay on YouTube. I'm still gonna be doing my live shows. I still want to reach as many people as possible. But this other platform is exciting, and not just because you can make money, but that certainly is a nice side benefit of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me welcome me into
Thanks,
your
Frank.
studio there. And let's not be strangers. I've sent you some messages. So you've got some contact info for me. I don't know.
You sent them. You sent them on YouTube messages or
on Steemit messages. So when you look at your wallet, try not to do this live on the air. But when you look in your wallet, you can scroll down and you can see transactions. And you can send a transaction to the wallet at 0.001 Steem.
Oh, I see.
And then you can start that message with a hashtag, and then it's encrypted so that nobody can see that. So not even your public can see what you're messaging back and forth to people.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. I see your messages now.
Yeah, and so contact me anytime. I'm here to help. I just got another great author. I onboard people on Steemit. I just do it privately, and I like what you do. I've been following more of what Defengo does. Just because I get along with the stoner types,
right?
You know what I mean. So, and I just love this this live streaming of your own surveillance that Defengo does. You do a great show. You do a very meticulous show. I'd like to invite you onto Steampunk Radio, which I've had some influence in creating on the platform, so we can get an hour or two, to you. It's voluntary. We're not doing it the normal way. We're not doing ads. We're not doing contracts. We're just handle the whole thing on Steam. If we have 2 hours at least, I can feed you, to get you started or something. And this is the way to get us away from YouTube. This is the way to get us away from, Twitters and Pinterest and Instagram. We have to create these things ourselves.
Yeah, I believe it. And let's talk about it more. I'm excited for all the opportunities that have to do with Steam.
Really love the show, by the way, today.
Thanks.
This Tom DeLonge thing is really big in my view, a big style too. But let's follow up and talk again about it, because you've done a number of good shows recently that I gotta pay homage to you, my friend. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. Thanks. I appreciate it, Frank. Talk to you later.
You take care.
Bye. More talk about Steemit. People are like, this is what happens to a lot of people. You say cryptocurrency and they go, wah, 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 wah. You do have to learn to keep your passwords safe. I will tell you that. Steemit will teach you that big time. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hi, Nathan. This is Lawrence.
Hey, good. I'm glad I took another call. How's it going, Lawrence?
Yeah, I was about to complain. This is my show, man. I need to call in. So I don't like normally to talk about Bitcoin, but I did want to sort of repeat what the last caller said, that it is definitely very vulnerable to being shorted. A guy with a lot of money can inflate the bubble and then short it and make a ton of money, like JP Morgan did with the silver market back in the early 1900s.
It's maybe they can do it in the futures exchanges, but you can't. There aren't as many derivatives of Bitcoin. It's not like the paper silver and gold markets. So I push back against that a little bit. But let's move on from crypto. Let's talk about what the show was about, since people are sick of hearing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's one thing people get their hackles up a bit with the flat Earth thing. Thinking that, well, that means there can't be aliens or ETs. But really, an ET is just something that's not from the Earth. So it would be an entity that came from elsewhere. We have this sort of implicit definition of what an alien is, coming from like the 1950s, of like creatures kind of like 1950s era humans building a metallic craft and taking off into the sky and flying off until they find another planet and landing there. But it's exceedingly unlikely that that's actually how they get here. I mean, if space is real, it's really huge. So the ancient idea, like for instance in Ephesians, they call Satan prince of the powers of the air. And I think, why would they use that? Are you familiar with that term?
No, I haven't heard that before. It's an interesting term.
Yeah, I think it's Ephesians 2, and they use that term, prince of the powers of the air. And it's like, what were they meaning by that? And I think what it meant, because, now it seems vague because we obviously have our own air power. You have your Air Force.
Right.
But at that time, what's in the air? They were probably seeing these lights flying around and probably knew of bad shit going on, like abduction type events. And so they really felt like these things in the air were negative and sort of like ruled by Satan.
Right. That's interesting. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I do believe entities come here from other places. I don't know how they get here. Probably interdimensionally. In a way, you'd have to say it's necessarily interdimensionally. If space is as big as they calculate, you couldn't get here in any reasonable amount of time. So you would have to somehow defy, speed of light and all that. So in a sense, you're already sort of defying the laws of physics as we understand them.
Right.
So anyway, that means they're getting here by some other means. And these people have too many experiences with them for that not to be a real phenomenon of some sort, whatever it is.
Right.
And the raw material, there's a thing about the teachings. He talks of the law of confusion. And that's a really interesting notion, which is that we kind of agreed by living here to be ignorant. And we sort of agreed to be subject to the lies that we tell each other. And so Ra felt that they were not allowed to break that contract and tell us what was really going on.
Right.
And so they had to be really vague about things like what is the government really up to, right? Is there a secret space program? Ra wouldn't say. They asked outright, and Ra really was very evasive about it. And how the ETs get here? Again, Ra was very evasive of what these creatures were. The only thing that Ra made clear, in a sense, was that they did point to places in the sky. They said that they referred to the negative group that is screwing with us as Orion.
Orion, right.
And Ross said that and the reason is that the main group that's fucking with us is originating from that area in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
But what exactly, who knows what that means really.
Right.
And Rob was, again, really evasive about defining it.
Right.
So I don't think Flat Earth really presents a problem in that sense. I think it presents just a larger problem because it's a contradiction. The sky seems to be round and the earth seems to be flat.
Right. Well, that is an interesting thing. I think I figured that out, though, from the magnetic flat earth, where it looks like a torus, what's around us, and also a projection of the sun rather than the sun. The very interesting stuff that I looked into recently that's had me coming around
right.
to this stuff. So anyway,
like the sun is kind of like a rainbow, where
exactly.
It's like everyone sees a different sun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So when you see the sun seeming to make rays through the clouds that go up straight to the sun and come out, that's just for individual viewpoints, the same way as a rainbow would be. And you can't get on the other side of that and see the same thing the opposite way. It just doesn't happen. It's impossible. So that from that, the sun is actually a projection of some sort. And everything kind of goes around this torus-shaped field. It's pretty interesting. But I'm glad I got your call about ETs. I know you're into it, and I'll get up to a CD ranch one of these days.
Yeah. So then, in terms of the channeling, Ra also talks about that and like distinguishing a legitimate channel versus less than legitimate. That basically there's. The way the raw material expresses it is that you can reach out and get information from many different sources, including sort of your own subconscious, and that the only way, because of the law of confusion, you cannot know for sure who the source is. That you can't know for sure that they're not lying.
Mm-hmm.
And that the only way you can tell is that you have to look at the quality of their message. And if it's a loving, encouraging message that leads to spiritual growth, then it's probably positive. And if it's a message that is driving you towards fear, upset, anxiety, that's a negative source.
Right.
And then anything in between, like people going to a channel and saying like, what is like what happened to Paddock after he died?
Right.
Like this sort of like practical information, or what's the stock market going to do tomorrow?
Right.
That information can't be tested. We have no way of knowing whether it's deceptive or not.
Right.
So the value that, so that's one of those things where like I tend to be like down on almost all channels, but then I'm really big on raw.
Right.
And the reason is that the message of the raw material is at the spiritual plane is really it's very consistent.
Right.
And really helps you to understand things. Like it puts everything into context. And because of that, it makes like a lot of the other things that Ross says that you can't prove sound like they might be legitimate, because the things that you can test are quite valid.
Yeah. Well, it's in tune with, my spiritual feeling and so many things that I already kind of perceived about this control structure and this fear matrix, and it basically, and love and unity of, everything being one. It's very consistent with the way I perceive reality. And I just found I learned a lot from it. And so, and for it to just be totally made up, it just seems hard to believe. So, but some of these channels, you have to take them, you really have to be discerning about what the message is. And whether you think it comes from some kind of higher being, because of whatever it is.
Yeah, because some people say, and I don't know, I personally can't know for sure, but a thought that's out there is that the dead can't really speak to us. That when they cross over, they depart this realm, and that they sort of go mute. And so when psychics are speaking to the dead, they're not actually speaking to dead. They're either communicating with a negative source that's lying, or they're communicating with some sort of like they might be sort of clairvoyant, where they're getting information from the Akashic records.
Yeah.
And so
go ahead.
There are some channels, it's like a channeling Eric, where the lady thinks she's talking to her son.
Right.
And some people would say that doesn't happen.
Right.
I don't know. It's just something to always keep in mind.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious, and I haven't had an experience with a medium myself, but I might try to do that on my show, maybe with this Diet person, if I can get in touch with her. So I'm interested in all of that. And I know a lot of people have a lot of theories about what it means talking to the dead, and whether you're, talking to basically an evil entity when you do that, if it's the case. So, all right. Thanks, Lawrence. That's going to be my last call for the show. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right. I just had to end the show Lawrence is a good call. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning into this very controversial show. We hope to bring you more controversial shows all the time. Who's we? That's me, your host, Nathan Stoltman, and Doshi. He looks really good with those Christmas lights, I think. So hopefully everybody appreciated the Christmas lit tree today. If I'm not live for a show like this tomorrow, just a reminder, Thursdays are the Solutions Show, and I'm still planning to do another show this Thursday, which everybody has been very receptive to, where I have very interesting guests, and we talk about some of these things, what's in the news, what problems are that are facing us, and how we can solve them. And we've been talking a lot about, cryptocurrency and Steemit. So please follow me there. You can find the link right in the description. You can donate in cryptocurrency. It's really easy to do. You can go buy some too on Coinbase.com. There are a lot of ways to start accumulating it. One of them being Steemit. I wouldn't be able to afford cryptocurrency, except I can make it on Steemit. So that's what it is for today. I'll see you guys, if not sooner. Well, I'll see you on Steemit sooner for sure, because I do individual stuff on there. So follow me there to get super secret shows, or on Patreon, where I try to repost everything. And I'll see you again on Thursday. Happy holidays. I hope everybody's gearing up for a nice holiday season with your family. Cheers, everybody. That's what it is.